So this will be the end of chapter 3, which is a very short, long chapter.
Wow.
Short in the book, long in real life. Because there's a lot of stuff there, right? Use of force. So let's begin with a discussion of use of force options. Right? What options does a police officer have available to them in use of force? So what we're going to talk about is something called the force continuum. And we're going to look at the options and the limitations. What you can do and what the limitations of that thing are. Verbal control. Right? That's an option. Sir, stop. Sir, put your hands up. Unarmed control.
Wow.
Baton. OC gas. Taser. Firearm. So those are the choices that a police officer has. You have this handout, but this is our use of force continuum. Do we know what a continuum is? What's a continuum?
Going up.
What's that?
Just keep going.
Sort of, kinda.
Continuous.
Continuous, yeah, I see the connection. A continuum is a range that can go from lower to higher or from higher to lower. Right, a range of things, any number of things. This is a force continuum. So we can go from low to high, we can go from high to low. And if you look at the little chart here, you can see how that works? Command presence, intimidating presence. Okay, so here's how it starts, from low to high. So if somebody is just making an intimidating presence, well, then you're going to be intimidating back. That's what you're going to try. When you're vertically challenged like me, it's a little bit harder sometimes. If they're making verbal threats and gestures against you, we can come across here and now we're moving to verbal de-escalation. We're going to try to calm them down with words. So more than just a presence, now you're going to articulate your desire with them. You know, look, sir, I really need you to settle down. I really need you to calm down a little bit here. Passive resistance. Do we know what that is?
You know, like they're like
Talking.
resisting Willie.
What's that?
Wait, sorry, I think I misunderstood what you said.
Okay, what do you have for me? Passive resistance?
You're talking. You're talking about not.
You're saying you're not going to listen.
Well, it's really just not doing. We say, sir, I need you to step away from that vehicle. And the person just stands there like that and just doesn't move and refuses to obey your orders.
Kind of like doing it, just not.
So they're not doing anything threatening or intimidating, but they are refusing to comply with your orders. Is that a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be. Sure can. So passive resistance, we come to, soft hand control. Or yeah, that's soft hand control. Pressure points control tactics and stuff like that. Active resistance, that means they're jerking away from you or pushing you or chest bumping, like in my scenario. Boy, did that make her mad. Right, that's active resistance. And if we follow the dashed line across over here, hard hand control. That's faceplant stuff. So that was why I got face planted. So she was certainly within her boundaries right there. Active aggression. Now that means you're coming after them, intending to do them harm. And look at, see that sharp uptick there? Active aggression, sidearm, aggressive response. Life-threatening, holds or strikes, rigid weapon attacks, edged weapon attack, firearm attack. If we follow the dashed line, they all hit the red right there. Lethal force. That's how that works. So here's an officer's duty belt. What's on the duty belt? Well, we can see their firearm. We can see the baton. We can see handcuffs. We can see, I'm thinking that's a flashlight there, small flashlight. That's going to be your pepper gas. We see the radio over here. Around on the other side, we're going to see the taser probably. You know, if you're right-handed, you put your firearm on your strong side and your taser on your weak side. And then here again is another depiction of what's on an officer's belt. So we've got extra magazines, flashlight, radio, handcuffs, gloves, personal protection stuff here, more handcuffs, baton, firearm, pepper gas. We don't see a taser on here. Now, most officers will configure their gun belts, you know, to suit their personal needs. When you're smaller, of course, it's a problem because you don't have as much space to put things on, so then you have to get a little bit innovative sometimes. But those belts are heavy. They can weigh up to 30 pounds.
How do you stop it from just sliding off?
Well, these right here are called belt keepers.
Oh,
They attach it to the belt.
So you attach it from your outer belt to your inner belt.
I never even realized that.
Yeah, but, okay, we shouldn't be having this conversation here, but when you go to the bathroom to drop trowel, I mean, it's like you dropped an anchor. Right, 30 pounds go boom, now. Right, and then to put them back on, because it's attached. So you have two choices. You can either, you know, and you look like you're doing some sort of a convulsion, or you can unsnap all of your belt keepers and then take it off and put it back on and replace those. Either way, it takes an incredible amount of time. So, big pain in the butt.
A lot of the departments now, they're switching to the tactical vest and everything on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing
And the
that,
only
yeah,
thing they
tactical
have in
vests.
their duty belts is the firearm.
That would be useful unless you need to bend over and tie your shoes. And then it would be like having a big belly on. So, how do you decide what to use? You don't. You don't decide anything. The person that makes the decision for you is the bad guy that's trying to hurt you. Your decision, your force option, is determined solely by the assailant, the bad guy's actions. What are they doing? And that's where you start. Because if this guy's coming at you with a knife, a command presence isn't a very good idea because now you're a standstill target. Or, excuse me, sir, would you please put that knife down?
Hey, maybe it'll work.
So, is that a lethal weapon?
Yes.
And he's coming at you? Where do we start, right? See how this works? So you're going to select the proper force option based on what the bad guy is doing, understanding the limitations of each of those options. And this is what they never tell you on the news. Why didn't that police officer use the taser? He should have just tasered him. Well, okay. We need to look at the situation and the limitations of the taser. So once you understand the limitations of your force options, a lot of what you see is going to make a lot more sense. Verbal control. Verbal control should only be used if the subject is cooperative and there's no threat. Sir, stop. Sir, put your hands up. Sir, put your hands on the hood of my car. There's no threat. They're cooperative. We don't need to do anything else. In a perfect world, everybody would respond to verbal control. We wouldn't ever have to do anything beyond that. No police officer wants to. Unarmed techniques for control. So, passive resistance. Passive resistance means you've asked somebody to do something and they're basically just not moving. They're refusing to. So we may use pain compliance techniques. Pain compliance techniques. Techniques for compliance. What's the word compliance mean?
Control.
Control or to comply,
To listen.
to obey. We want to make you obey, techniques to make you obey using pain. That means we're going to hurt you. We are going to hurt you until you obey us. That's what's going to happen there. See these two state police recruits? They're practicing pain compliance techniques. This looks very effective. She looks like she's in a significant amount of pain. She might obey the commands being given her, right? So pain compliance techniques mean we're going to hurt you until you obey. You're not moving, you're not doing what we told you to do, we're going to hurt you until you do. And so using arm bars, pressure points control tactics, unpleasant things like that. And try this on yourself. Push your finger up hard on that bone under your nose. It really freaking hurts. Right? Push right there. And there's a whole bunch of neat little stuff we can show you to do. Right? We're going to hurt people until they obey. Then we have active resistance. That means they're pulling away from you, they're pushing you, they're chest bumping you, something like that. Well, now we're going to not be nice anymore. Now we're going to use what are called heavy hand techniques. Heavy hand techniques. And those look like that. It's a face plant. We are going to face plant you on the ground. So hard takedowns, right, stunning you against the wall, the ground. That's going to hurt, isn't it? It is. Yeah, you know what? When I was chest bumping that recruit in the scenario that I told you about, she took me down. She face planted me. And I had skin off my chin. And I had skin off my cheek. And I had gravel and grass in my teeth. And I had gravel and grass up my nose. I had gravel in my hair and eyes too. I had bruises on both elbows and knees. Why did she do that? Because I was engaging in active resistance. So was that excessive force that she used? No. She was well within her limits. She was well within her rights to use those techniques on me. That's what happens when people resist. How could I have avoided getting hurt?
Cooperated.
Comply.
Comply. Pretty easy, really. How could a person avoid getting hurt here? Comply. So here's the thing, folks. Injury to the suspect does not equal excessive force. They're called pain compliance techniques and heavy hand techniques for a reason. You're going to get hurt. And if you don't comply, you're going to get hurt. Bottom line. Properly applied techniques are supposed to cause pain. So if the bad guy isn't getting hurt, you're not doing it right. How could the bad guy avoid getting hurt? Say it again louder. I'm not hearing you. Comply. The bad guy could avoid getting hurt by complying with your orders. See, it's very easy. If you're not hurting them, you're not doing it right. It's supposed to hurt. That's what makes them want to obey. Baton. Batons should be used for active aggression. But here's the thing. To use a baton, you've got to be kind of close to the person, don't you? In fact, it's going to put you right in the middle of that kill zone, which is 15 feet or less. That's where the bad guy can injure or kill you. So to use that baton, you're going to have to be in about a 3 to 5 foot proximity to the bad guy who might be trying to hurt you. So that's the downside of the baton. If you're going to use a baton, you need to be practicing with it regularly. It's a use it or lose it deal, folks. We'll teach you how to use the baton in the academy, but if you don't practice with it after that, when the time comes to use it, you're going to be, yeah. Use it or lose it. So if you're not going to practice with that baton, don't use it. I know a lot of officers that don't carry them for that very reason. So if you're going to carry it, practice with it. Know how to use it. Otherwise, don't. And here's something that you never hear in the media. But anytime you're in close proximity to the bad guy, somebody that's trying to hurt you, variables include age, sex, size, and physical condition. Let's go back to MCOLES requirements. Do they or do they not take into account the physical differences between a younger person and an older person? They do, because there is a difference, isn't there? As we age, our body parts wear out. We lose muscle mass, we lose flexibility, we lose strength, we lose speed, we lose lung capacity. I mean, right? Think of an old car and the parts start wearing out. And that's what's happening to the human body. So if you've got a 50-year-old cop going up against an 18 or 19-year-old bad guy, well, that's not much of a fair fight, is it? That's going to get ugly. Throw in the variable of sex, male versus female. Isn't it true that M. Cole says, oh, there's a difference between male bodies and female bodies, so the requirements are different too?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the primary difference between male physiology and female physiology? Anybody?
You're talking like build?
Okay,
Like men typically have a big or a taller, more muscular build.
more muscle mass. There it is. Men have a lot more muscle mass. That's what testosterone gives you guys. You have a lot more muscle mass. Pound for pound, a male and a female, if we equate for every other variable, we have a male and a female that are both 5'6". They're both the same age. They're both in the same physical condition. We equate for every other variable, pound for pound, that male is going to be 20 to 25% stronger. The Army did some experiments a while back with some uber women. You know, and these were women, like, they were just freaking workout nuts. You know, they were crazy, physically fit. And they did the same thing. The best that they could do between the male and female strength gap was to close it to about 15%, and these were uber women. So for the average normal male and female, there's going to be about a 25% gap. And that's if they're the same size and age and in the same physical condition. But mostly guys are bigger than women, aren't they? Yeah, so you start seeing how that 25% gap opens up as size opens up. So that's a huge variable. And size, a big guy versus a small guy. Isn't it true that in the martial arts, in wrestling, in boxing, there are weight categories for a reason? Because a heavyweight and a welterweight going at each other, it's not going to be any kind of a fair fight, is it? So we have size categories. So if you've got a small officer and a big bad guy, well, you can see how that's going to happen. And physical condition. Maybe you've got an overweight 50-year-old male officer who's average size, and he lifts 12-ounce weights several times a day. And maybe you got a very physically fit 22-year-old. You see how that's going to happen? And nobody really talks about these variables when they're talking about use of force, but doesn't that change everything? Doesn't that affect how much force you're going to need to use to control that situation? A small person, a female, an older person is going to have to use a lot more force to get control of that situation, aren't they? So they don't get injured or killed. OC gas, gotta love this stuff. It's great for passive resistance. And so we've got a whole bunch of passive resistors. They're linking arms and they're across a highway. They're blocking traffic. Yeah, we'll just leave them. That's okay, right?
No.
Yeah, not so much. You're kind of not doing your job if you just leave them. They're obstructing traffic. So we say, would you please disperse? And they just continue to link arms, and maybe they stand there and sing Kumbaya or something. Who knows? So pepper gas is really handy for this because you're going to go, which way is the wind blowing? Mm-hmm. Yep, good, good. It's blowing that way, so we'll get out in front of it, and you just go, psst, and you spray all out in front of them, behind the wind, and let the wind blow it in. And you know what? A bunch of those people are going to want to go home now. They're not going to think it's such a great idea to stand out there with their arms linked in the highway anymore. Pepper gas is great for that stuff. What it is not good for is active aggression. When the bad guy is coming to you like this, that's not a good idea. Okay, first off, physical proximity. Right? To use pepper gas, you're going to have to be in the kill zone, because you have to be reasonably close for it to disperse. So it's going to put you within that 15-foot kill zone. Okay. Do we see how this story is going to end by this picture? This does not look like a happy ending to me. Pepper gas is affected by wind. So what if the wind is blowing from behind the bad guy?
Right in the cop's face.
And the cop sprays the pepper gas and gets a face full himself and the bad guy doesn't get any? That's not very helpful, is it? And it's not like he's got time to go, which way is the wind blowing? He doesn't have time to do that, does he? It doesn't always work. Pepper gas doesn't always work, and it doesn't always work on everybody. About 10% of the population is completely unaffected by the stuff. It doesn't bother them. About 25% of the population become more aggressive when they're sprayed with the stuff. They actually get pissed off. I happen to be one of those people. Oh yeah, my eyes are all swelled shut and I'm tearing up and I'm a snot factory and I'm coughing and hacking and I am madder than a wet cat. And I'm coming after you right now. I'm one of those people. 20% still require additional control. So they are somewhat affected, but they still require additional control. So that's about 55%, more than half of the population, that pepper gas just isn't a real good choice for. Never mind being in the kill zone in the wind. So, you know, what's this officer going to do? Excuse me, sir, are you one of the 55% of the population that is not affected by pepper gas? So you can kind of see why in active aggression this is not a good choice at all. I mean, it's just not. You can see how this story is going to end, and it does not have a happy ending, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Taser. Taser should be used for active aggression. You can use a taser for weapons attacks that are not guns, but only if a second officer has a gun at the ready. Otherwise, only for active aggression. So for example, if somebody's got a knife, is a knife a lethal weapon?
Yes.
Can a knife kill you?
Yes.
Okay, you're not just going to taser somebody with a knife unless you've got a backup officer, because there's a lot of bad things that can happen with tasers.
Like those pictures of the guy that got knifed out.
Yeah, exactly right. So you can try the taser as long as you've got an officer ready if your taser fails. Because a knife or any other weapon is a lethal weapon. Other than that, you should not be using a taser for anything beyond active aggression. If somebody's got a weapon, unless there's an officer at the ready with their gun drawn down in case your taser fails, you should not be using the taser if somebody has a weapon. Because it puts you in the kill zone. Right, those taser wires are only 15, 20 feet long. And of course, the longer they are, the more likely you are to miss. So that puts you right in the kill zone there. And guess what? Your aim is going to be affected by two things. The big adrenaline dump that you've got going on right now because you're in fight or flight mode, and the movement of the target. In the real world, targets don't stand nice and still like that. In the real world, they move. Right? And in this case, they're probably moving towards you. So you just had a huge adrenaline dump. All of your blood flow has been channeled to the body's core, which means now your fine motor coordination is affected, and your target's moving. Does that significantly affect your ability to hit the target?
Yes.
It really does. It really, really does. The odds that you're going to hit the target under circumstances like that, unless you're really close, are pretty low. The prongs might not stick. We live in Michigan. We have 9 months of winter and 3 months of bad skiing. Most of the time we're wearing heavy outerwear or heavy layers of clothing. These are the prongs. In fact, those prongs were in me. All it really is a fish hook, fish hooky thing. And both prongs have to stick for it to work. So if one prong sticks, you're SOL. Or maybe somebody's wearing a heavy Carhartt and no prongs stick. Yeah, now we got a problem, don't we?
Yeah.
So, you're in the kill zone. You have just one shot. Your aim is affected by your adrenaline and the target's moved. And the prongs might not stick. So when the media says, why didn't he use a taser on that guy?
Bam.
I count 4 reasons right here that a police officer might choose not to use a taser. I'm going to give you a 5th one. You only get 5 seconds of incapacitation. And TV drives me nuts. I just watched a show the other day. Somebody got tasered or zotted or something, you know. And first it shows them on the ground. They do the funky chicken, you know, flop around. Okay, no, that's not what's going to happen. Actually, the opposite happens. You go rigid and can't move. You're totally seized up. Secondly, you're not knocked out unconscious like they show on TV. You're not incapacitated for very long at all. You are incapacitated for literally 5 seconds. Count them, 5. So if you can't deal with that situation in 5 seconds, a taser is not going to be a good choice. Firearm, last resort, right? Firearms are accurate at close range only, right? The handgun that the officer is carrying. How many people have ever fired a handgun in here? Wow, that's a lot. That's like 3/4 of you. So you know what I'm talking about, right? The further back you go, the more that bullet drops, the more it goes askew someplace. So a pistol is made for up close and personal stuff. Close range. The closer the better. And the further back you get, the less accuracy. So all this TV bull crap where people are shooting stuff out of people's hands and all, that ain't gonna happen. Right? You're lucky to get it on the target when you get back a ways. And, okay, remember that aim is affected by 2 things. Your adrenaline, because if you're using a firearm, that means your life is being threatened. Believe me, you are in the middle of a big adrenaline dump right now. So your adrenaline, which is affecting your fine motor coordination, and the fact that the target is moving probably towards you. So as it turns out, when officers discharge their handguns, they miss more than they hit.